Played great. Nathan Hindmarsh, Michael Chammas, Tony Squires with you. Okay, last night the Panthers 30 over South Sydney 10. Panthers did rest a couple of players, very important players as well, too. Nathan Cleary, Zayo weren't in that side. Of course, they were facing a South Sydney team that has been decimated by injuries across the year. And once again, they were down, I think, 18-0 at half-time. A bit of a spray from Wayne Bennett in the dressing room at half-time. They came out, scored the first try of the second half. But the Panthers just too good.
Yeah, Penrith just keep on rolling, don't they? That's six in a row. They just did what they had to do. It was a big result, twofold. Obviously, they got out there and they won the game, but it was an opportunity for them to rest Nathan and Isaiah. Obviously, some big workloads for those boys, and they needed to be freshened up at some stage. So to be able to give them a rest and get out on the field and get the 2 points, yeah, it was a big night for Penrith. And like they were dominating that first half against the South Sydney team, who's lacking a lot of experience, obviously multiple changes. They just did what they had to do. And they're starting to be a real threat, aren't they? Chammy's just given them the next 3 games. So they
Easy games.
They could possibly be pushing for the top 4, which mid-year, when they were at the bottom of the table, would have been, if someone had said that they're going to be in a position to possibly make the top 4,
ridiculous.
It would have been ridiculous. But they just keep doing Penrith things, and you can never count them out. And even if they don't make the top 4, listen, they're on a run. They're getting their confidence back. Brian Toll could probably use a rest. As we said earlier, he's been struggling with injury throughout most of the year, just carrying it and doing his job. But a freshen up heading into the finals would do in the world of good. But if they keep on this run, and I know at the back end of the season, I think they go 3 games in a row. It's Melbourne, Canberra, Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if they win out until those games, and they'll eye those teams off knowing, okay, here's a real test for us. Doesn't even matter if we don't make the top 4 or not. We got to look at the teams that, if we get in the finals and can win that first game, it's going to be one of those teams we're coming up against. So it's going to be an exciting back end of the year for the Penrith Panthers.
Yeah, I think the game last night went how everyone expected it to, especially with the depleted South side. Latrell Mitchell, obviously, and Cody Walker, the 2 big outs, especially Latrell, what he's been bringing to the side the last few weeks with his ball playing and his involvement in the side. So it kind of went how I was expecting it to go. Yeah, the Penrith side against the Warriors a few weeks ago after Origin 2, I think it was, when they sent a few young blokes over and some less experienced players, and they dominated the Warriors over there. So look, I didn't expect much different, to be honest with you. South's tried hard, like they always do. But yeah, just Penrith, they just know how to do it. They know how to do it. I thought Milky Jenkins was outstanding on the wing again.
He's a fantastic player, isn't he?
I thought Jenkins
is his name really Milky? Is that the one you've given him?
No, I think that's Maroon gives him Milky Jenkins. But it just fits because but he's not really milky. He's got milky skin, but is he a fan of pants? He's a redhead, isn't he? Yeah.
He's a good player. The emergence of him, because at the start of the year when they had some issues in their centres in the wing, they had McLean on the wing, and he struggled a little bit under the high ball. He was caught out of position, but the emergence of Jenkins has allowed him to go back into the centres, playing much more confidently. He's looking good.
Yeah.
And Jenkins is such a good player, and it's probably someone who no one had their radar on him coming through. He wasn't really a name that anyone expected, but he's taken his opportunity with both hands, and he just gets the job done every time.
Attack and defence. Like the amount of try saves he's had already this year, the tries he set up last night.
Well, you mentioned the Warriors game when they went over there undermanned. He was on the wing. He saved 2 tries. That was certain tries, took an intercept and saved tries. And it's reasons like that Penrith are now in this position, and they're just such a dangerous team. And again, like if I was in one of those top 4 teams, we're playing well. We've had such a good season. We've earned our way to the top 4, and then you look over your shoulder and you know there's a Penrith team who's won 4 premierships, possibly coming to get you.
And the young kids that they're relying on are getting better and better, like McLean. I think
outstanding. Yeah,
he had a cracker the other week against
Bulldogs against Crichton.
Against an old Crichton, and we're thinking, well, it was a bit of old bull, young bull sort of stuff, and he stood up and really, he didn't dominate, Crichton, but he held his own, and I thought since then he's gone to another level. So, and he's signed there till I think the end of 2028. So that's a good pickup by the Panthers, or good securing on their behalf.
And the thing is with Penrith, and you sort of felt as though maybe the depth was depleted this year, given all the players they'd lost. But what they do is constantly get value for money. Like Jenkins went to Newcastle, came back looking for an opportunity on peanuts. Casey McLean would be on very little money. Alamotti came to the club on peanuts. Like, for the one thing that Penrith do so well is, yes, they pay a lot of money for Nathan's on 1.2, Dillon's on 850. Even those guys, to be fair, they're on unders. Yoey's on, I think, 800. But what they do is get value for money out of guys who aren't on a lot. And eventually that catches up with you, because eventually you're going to have to pay a lot of money for someone when they perform. But I think they won 2 premierships with Dylan Edwards on 500,000. Like, if you can do that and capitalise when these guys aren't on a lot of money, then you can make the most of that window. And that's why the fact they've got the depth and the juniors coming through means they can constantly rotate. Every time someone becomes like they're going to be too much, they move on to the young kid and they get value for money. And this will happen with these guys. Like Casey McLean will come through and he'll be worth, in a couple of years' time, he'll be worth 600,000-700,000. He'll be one of the best centers in the game. You can see it already. He's only young. So the decisions they've made, every time they look at moving someone on, you can't say they've ever made a wrong decision. Like, everyone that leaves, they've always found a replacement for. And to be honest, most people don't reach the heights that they did at the Panthers.
With Nathan Cleary and Isaiah Yeo both rested last night, Dylan Edwards got the C next to his name. He ran for about 1,000 metres. Absolutely amazing. Kicked goals spectacularly. Had a brilliant game.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And again, another Panther who struggled with injury at the start of this year. He was carrying that groin. Obviously went through the disappointment of the Origin series. But, you have to move on pretty quickly. And the Penrith Panthers are rolling. He might get a rest in the upcoming weeks if that's available for them. But
against the easy teams.
Yeah, against the easy teams, so-called easy teams.
That's not till the last round, the Dragons, isn't it?
Come on. Honestly, Wade, when you're training, didn't you know this week's going to be easy? Or this whole mentality that, I know team's easy, you also have to say it, but surely you go into a game thinking, we should win this game. These guys are hopeless.
Even if you have that mentality, there is no easy game, mate. You're still going out there. You're getting into the contest.
I've got the wrong bloke.
Yeah.
Hindy.
Honestly, there was plenty of times we went out there and went, okay, we'll flog these blokes. Yeah, and we did, because that was our mentality. Yeah, there's always an easy game here or there.
I call BS.
You mentioned earlier, just to remind us that Brian To'o, who again was sensational, one kick return which led to a try, which was spectacular. He's just so strong. Now, he had hamstring issue. They were concerned in past weeks. It was not that this time around. It was knee.
They told me that he came off because of cramp. I think he had a contact to the knee issue that caused him some grief, and he has that LCL issue that I mentioned earlier, one of the ligaments in the knee. So they just decided he's got a bit of cramp, he's got the knee issue, let's just get him off. I think they were up by 20 or close to it at the time. So, they'll have scans on it. Given the way he's performed over the Origin series and with Penrith through injury, you know that he can play through the pain. It's just whether or not you just freshen him up. And I imagine now that they've got some easy games, they'll freshen him up.
He's doubling down, this boy.
Well, what's a freshen up? Is freshen up missing the game or get rest or just through the week, Wado? Like, you know what? I don't want to see you till captain's run.
Yeah, I would prefer, the training days off. I didn't want to miss games. And if you needed the rest, most of the time, it's a mental break more than anything. Just a couple of days to yourself where you don't have to worry about football. You can get away with the family or have some quiet time just to get rid of some of the baggage and the stress that you've been through. And my preference would always be to miss a couple of days of training possibly, or just lighten the load.
Or miss the heavy sessions.
Yeah,
and just
the contact sessions, take a bit of contact out of it.
Yeah.
But if there was a game on the weekend, I always want to play.
Yeah.
And most players would, but I think there's an understanding, particularly at Penrith, that their workloads, their experience, they're looking for bigger things down the end of the road, and they know that missing a game here, could be a key part
to winning the game later on.
The bigger picture.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Wade, but I'm pretty sure the RLP, under the rules, when you have a bye, you have to have I think it's 3 days off. And a lot of those guys who went into Origin camp and played Origin, if their club team had a bye, they're entitled to that time off. I'm pretty sure Latrell had a few days off this week before coming back to training and picking up that injury. So a lot of them will be given time off because they're entitled to it under the CBA.
Yeah, but most players, you need to sort of force them away. Like when you come out of Origin period, you want to get back to your club, particularly if you're when you're fighting for the 8, or like Penrith Penrith are now. They're on a roll, and Origin is such a privilege to play in. But you never forget that, like, your club is where your bread's buttered, and you need to go back there and do the work. And the time that you're away, you actually you feel like you're not doing your job for your teammates. So when you come back, you almost double down and you want to make up for lost time, and you almost need to force players away because they'll do as much as they can to try and help their club, help their team get success, and they'll run themselves into the ground if you don't take the choice out of their hands sometimes.
Choice has been taken out of the hands of those who have been injured or missing games. And as we mentioned before, the Rabbitohs, that is a hefty number, has been all season. There was a story today in the Telegraph saying they have, of games missed by starting players who would start normally, 78 has been for the Rabbitohs. I mean, the Roosters at 73 as well, which is massive, but they've performed.
They also had Brandon Smith and Sam Walker.
Yeah.
Correct. The Dolphins is a big number as well, 56. But that's weird because on the other end, I mean, the Tigers, who have obviously not performed as they would have hoped, only 22, and same with the Dragons, just 29. So it's interesting, isn't it? But as South Sydney, that is a big number of players that have missed out and continue to.
Well, it's a big number of players in key positions.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Like, you can have players you can quite easily fill in for, maybe in the centres or wing department, but if you're your key playmakers or your key go-to men or your marquee players, that's when it hurts. That's when it hurts any side. So, it's just one of those things. Unfortunately for South, that it's been their main men that's cost them. And I'm sure if they were all fit, they would have won a lot more games than they have.
It gave a space on the bench for Lewis Dodd, the import from England. But once again, he kind of came on, didn't get a lot of game time, and he was serviceable.
He came on for Mamazoulis, didn't he?
Yeah.
When that happened there. It's a tough one with Lewis Dodd. He's on big money, and I'd be very surprised if he's at the club next year. I'd be very surprised if they don't at least attempt to say, mate, maybe this hasn't worked out.
He's contracted to the end of next year?
Yeah, was it a 2 or 3 year deal he signed with him? There is at least one more year, Tone. Like, he's going to be at the club if he can't find another home. So,
well, the thing is, if he's not playing consistently, how's he going to find another home? Like, he's not
going to find it in the NRL way, though.
Yeah, well, he's not in the shop window because he's not playing. It's sort of like, it might be in South's best interest to get him out there and play some consistent footy over the next month if he has the opportunity, if the injuries are still there. Let's get this guy some game time. Let's shop
him around.
Give him the opportunity to play some football and get some eyes on him, and then maybe some interest will grow from other areas if that's their plan to move him on. Like, it'd be disappointing for him if he has to go back to England. He's still young. He hasn't really had a decent crack over here, so I'd be keen to see him, have a run or stay at another club or get an opportunity at another club just to see what he's got. He had big raps coming over from the Super League, and unfortunately for him, he just hasn't had an opportunity to show us what he's got.
And you were right, Jamie, he's contracted till the end of 2027. As we speak.
I think it's 600 plus as well. Like, it's not like it's something that's not going to impact on the Rabbitohs' ability to.
Well, they're going to struggle to move him on with that price.
In Australia, in Australia, you will. But like, people in England may. Like, you got to remember, he got dropped before he came over. I think it was at St. Helens, wasn't he? He got dropped before he came over. So it's depends on who you ask. People, and I don't want to, it's tough because he's still there, and I hope the kid does well. But there's finger pointing at who made this decision. Like, did Wayne actually know what was going on at the time? And it was in the transition period between Jason Demetrio. I think Jason Demetrio might have even still been at the club when it started to happen. So. Wayne has distanced himself from the decision because was he meant to know what was going on at the time? Was he appointed officially as South Sydney coach? But my mail is that he knew what was going on.
Well, let's get to that then. Rugby 360. The question is it a threat? Just give us a bit of a background for those who haven't been across this story, Michael Chammas.
It's a new show on Fox. They're bringing in to replace the back page.
Exactly.
Rugby 360 has been in headlines all week. I'd sort of come on our radar. It's been around for a little while. Basically, what it is, it's the
IPL of rugby.
Yeah, it's basically live golf of rugby. Really, they're trying to break away.
Super League of rugby.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll just,
anyone else?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Because not everyone follows golf. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, it's going to be something of rugby, and they're trying to get. I think they've got till the end of September to get the franchises all locked in, and they've got massive private investors looking into this. They've got 200 players they need to convince to play, and what it's going to be is like a global rugby tournament played over 2 different blocks. I think it's March to June and then September to November. And the threat of it is real if it gets off the ground, because the money that they're talking, and it's got apparently it's going to be Saudi Arabian backed.
So a threat to rugby league.
Well, it's a major threat to rugby union, definitely. But there's also the possibility that it flows on. And I reported during the week that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is in discussions with the management of Rugby 360. And you have to think, Roger's 32 years old. He's got a contract for the Warriors next year, and he's thinking about going over in 2027. Like I said, if it gets off the ground, there are things they have to trigger to get there. But we're talking about a 33, 34-year-old Roger Tuivasa-Sheck earning $1 to $1.1 million for Rugby 360. When you consider what he's on now, he's on 550 to 6. That's a huge amount of money for a guy in the twilight of his career to go and earn. And they're talking that the top players, everything's in US dollars, the top players will earn $2 million US dollars. And I don't know how many of the NRL guys will be doing that, but even if they get to 1 point, let's say a Cleary or a Ponga or whoever it is, throw names out there, and these aren't guys who are targeted. Pappenhausen's name's been linked as well to Rugby 360. Like, you're not going to compete with $2.5 million to $3 million, and that's the fear for rugby league.
But
now,
this moment, that money hasn't been guaranteed. I mean, I think Peter Volandis has said, you've got to really check it out, and if it's all true, if it's all actual.
Yeah, right now it isn't, because what happens is it's all on the condition it gets off the ground. And from what I've been told, there are all sorts of clauses that if you agree to the deal, then you can't go out there and look elsewhere. Like, for example, let's say, I'm going to throw a name out there, Pappenhausen does sign. He can't do a deal elsewhere in the meantime until this gets off the ground. So it's a risk for someone like Ryan Pappenhausen. Whereas Roger, though, he's got one more year. He's going to go over the year after. And if it doesn't get off the ground, he'll know by then. And so he'll sign a deal elsewhere at the NRL.
How do they get the commitment from players, but before they've actually got their private investors and the money locked away? Is that not getting the cart before the horse? Because you can go, okay, Ryan Pappenhausen.
There'd be an incentive there, wouldn't there, to sign? So they'd get maybe a little bit of money, but that's the risk you're willing. If that's the risk you're willing to take to signing to 360.
Well, I'd imagine the investor would want to see.
Well, some people are getting guaranteed upfront money.
Okay.
Some people are getting, from what I've been told, they're getting an upfront fee.
So it is
like taking the risk.
It is Super League.
Yeah, it is. It is in that way. So that's going to be I don't think we're going to have 30, 40, 50 players leaving the game. But when at a period in the game when we're looking for 60 new players to enter our 2 expansion teams and potentially 3 expansion teams with the 20th team in the next few years after, it's going to leave us vulnerable if players can earn that sort of money.
So they're just playing conventional 15-a-side rugby. That's the game?
Yeah, from what I understand. I'm not an expert in it. I've done a lot of research this week in it. Mike Tyndall's one of the faces of it. So he's over in Australia at the moment watching the Lions tour. So, look, Roger's going to be the first one. I think my mail is it'll happen. He will sign with them. Does it happen? I don't know, but he's going to sign with them by the looks of it.
So there's obviously the threat that, if it gets up and running, we may lose some of our top tier players because of the opportunity to go and earn that sort of money that you probably wouldn't be able to get in rugby league, particularly at the back end of your career.
Yeah.
But what does it do to rugby? What's it do to rugby in New Zealand? What's it do to rugby in Australia?
Well, that's the fight at the moment, because if the governing bodies of the current jurisdictions decide that you can't represent your country if you go and break away and play in this competition, which is the discussion at the moment, it's going to have huge ramifications. Like, people are going to put their country before the money. What happens if it's vice versa? And I think from an NRL point of view, I spoke to Bruce Sharrick, who's Rogers' agent. He said to me in relation to Kalen Ponga, yeah, it's a big name here, but the investors, the people who are willing to buy in and where they expect a massive audience, it's France, it's England, it's America. And Kalen Ponga is a nobody to people over there. Roger's got a little bit of a name at least because he's played for the All Blacks. But that's where the NRL, it helps us, because a lot of the people won't know who Nathan Cleary is and won't know Ryan Pappenhausen. So maybe they can't fork out the big dollars for those guys because they don't have the global appeal of some of the rugby guys like Antoine Dupont and whatnot.
So just again, for my benefit, back up a bit. In terms of the structure of competition, and you said 2 conferences?
It's in 2 blocks. Yeah.
2 blocks, all right. And where are they playing?
So it's from what I can gather, everyone's signed NDAs. Anyone who goes and meets with Rugby 360, they sign NDAs in regards to the information. The information that I was told, and it could be wrong, but the information that I was told is next year it'll just be a 3-month block, but in 27 it'll regularly be 2 blocks, start of the year, end of the year. And the way they're going to do it is similar to Formula One, where it's it's based on brands rather than you're not supporting Australia or New Zealand. You're supporting Red Bull or I'm just throwing names out there, Nike or Adidas, or whoever the team, the brands that they're linked with. That's who you support. And then you get to a situation like for Roger, for example, he doesn't sign with a team. He will sign with Rugby 360. And when you launch the competition and there's 6 or 8 teams, you'll go into a system where you are a draft or an auction. It'll be IPL. It'll be like IPL. And they'll create that as an event as well. So they're trying to basically turn it into something that's entertainment and sport in one, and it's a global tour. So I don't have all the answers on it, Tone, but because as I said, it's still they're in the pipeline of working all this out. But depends who you speak to. Like the rugby purists say, it's not going to happen. You're wasting your time. But there are people out there who are close to it who think it's going to get off the ground. So I think until it does, it's a threat. But how big of a threat, time will tell.
Yeah, well, certainly rugby in this country has been struggling for quite some time. Really, really struggling. Then they get a Lions tour, and there's 60,000 Brits have arrived to watch a game in Brisbane tonight. So they have their moments. In terms of being able to compete financially, if you say that Saudi money, then there is no competing with that, quite obviously. But with the new broadcast deal for the rugby league, players are going to be getting a huge whack of money. Yeah,
yeah, they will. Yeah, well, hopefully. The NRL have been overseas. Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo were in New York last week. And they're hoping that, I think it was an 18% jump, Wado, last time from when there was a new broadcast deal for the players. So if we're talking, let's just say there is a 20% jump in the next broadcast deal for the players, well then the $1 million players are $1.2 million players. So it's a significant jump, but we're not talking, I don't think it's going to jump to anyone seeing 2 million in this next cycle. The NRL, it's going to be interesting how much money they want. 3 billion plus at the moment. I think the NRL's got a $2 billion deal. So, yeah, time will tell. The market has changed. The AFL got a massive, massive deal, and that's driving the NRL and Peter V'landys to make sure that they get something similar, if not better, for their players.